Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is the Thursday version, the morning version of this thing of ours. I'm so glad you could join us today, now, as we do this. And we must talk about the hit record song everybody's talking about. That is, of course, going to be tonight's debate. And you must understand that when you've been doing this business as long as I have, you have to ask yourself the following question. Number one, what do people really know about this, if anything? How adept are people at understanding the limited roles, the limited significance of, dare I say, the debate? What does it mean? What are we looking for? Because you see, as you know, my dear and trusted friend, people today are looking for a gaffe, something to laugh at, something to mock. They confuse that with something of substance. They don't really know what a debate is. Most Americans, aside from not having passports, do not know what a debate is. They've never been to a debate. They've never been a part of a debating society or a debating team. They don't understand what's the purpose of this. In a debate, you're obviously trying to win the point. Yeah, there's style, but you're trying to make the point. In a political debate, there is no point. There is nothing to be made because the people watching it don't know what the point is. They don't understand. You must grasp the notion with 131 days away. Most people watching the debate tonight will not be voting. Most people who are watching the debate tonight who will talk about it and who will post about it do not vote and never do vote. Or something will happen where they're for some reason disconnected from reality. And that's something that we have to think about. So we're going to be talking about that. Some memorable moments in history where it may have made a difference, but it was a different time then when people read newspapers and books and went to school and knew about history. The best gaffe ever was Ford, who said that there will never be any kind of Soviet influence in Eastern Europe. I mean, that was, if ever there was anything that was even criminal in terms of its nescience, it was that. That one was the greatest of all time. Most people know nothing about it. Or if I were to say that to you, they knew then, but people wouldn't be able to understand, well, what's the big deal about it? Why is it such a big deal? In any event, so my friends, sit back, wait. Make sure you are subscribed. I welcome you aboard. I'm so glad you're with us as usual. And before we begin, this critical word from our critical sponsor. 2 million people were hit in a massive debt collection data breach. The most valuable pieces of personal information to hackers were exposed, including full names, birth dates, and social security numbers. What's worse is that the hackers had unauthorized access to this debt collection database for over a week, nearly guaranteeing that they got every piece of information they could ever want on you. That's why I protect my personal data with today's sponsor, Virtual Shield One. And I absolutely love the security I get with them. Virtual Shield One helps protect my personal data, browsing history, and internet activity from data breaches like this one. It does this by continuously scanning the dark web, and it helps to erase my data anywhere it finds it. That's why my private data is better protected against cyber criminals, tech corporations, or ISPs. Plus, Virtual Shield One includes up to $1 million in identity theft protection insurance. So I know my data is safe. Every day, 3.8 million people have their personal records stolen from data breaches. Use Virtual Shield One to help prevent yourself from being one of them. Thanks again to Virtual Shield One for sponsoring Lionel Nation. Be sure to sign up by visiting virtualshield.com/Lionel or simply use my link in the description below, because every sign up with that link gets up to 67% off with a 60-day risk-free trial. Give yourself the gift of peace of mind. Now, we're going to be talking, of course, as to what people are going to be saying and what you can look forward to and how people will handle this particular debate. And we'll be asking the question of who wins. Who wins and what are you looking for? Now, remember, you're not going to see this if you're still watching cable news. And I can't say this enough. If you're still watching cable news, You're not going to learn this because cable news has so drifted from reality. It has nothing to do anymore with actual political commentary and the like. Let me also say to you, dear friend, the following, and this is critical stuff, critical news. First and foremost, you must understand, you must grasp that the view, what we know as the view, is probably in line more with anything that the average public is looking for. They will be looking at the view in terms of the model. Now, I can't say that enough. I don't know if anybody really grasps that, but they're looking at the view in terms of how serious this is, and how the what do I say, the level of folks, the level of, I don't know what you want to call it, the level of interest or whatever. It's very limited, very limited, and you got to ask yourself the question: well, has a debate ever made any difference? It's hard to say. It's hard to say because those were different times. Remember, most of the people watching tonight are not going to be voting, because most people, sad to say, don't vote. But they love to watch people getting hurt. They love to see people slam. They love gaffes. They like anything that even remotely appears to be something that's embarrassing. Okay, something that's a problem. Now, you're going to be hearing a lot of things tonight, which is critical. You're going to be hearing things, for example, commentary, which are going to be absolutely fascinating. To wit, let me see if we can explain this. To wit, one of them. Let me see. There was a list that we have of this, and you will find them to be most advantageous. First and foremost, you're going to be talking about, there's two things: the actual people there, and then the people watching, and I'll be tweeting along like others, providing my pithy and ridiculous commentary as it goes along. Because why? Because we are a slave to the platform. Secret Service supposedly has named the 2 weeks at Camp David Preparation H. They will ask the question: how many times did Joe clear his throat? How many times will Joe try to sit? Notice I didn't say there's no H in that. You got that one? You got that one? How many times will he try to sit? How many times will Joe make some weird sort of gaffe? We're also going to be watching Adderall, folks, depending upon the particular iteration of this. How many letters from experts will Joe produce? Experts saying that he's different. Has the CNN director been briefed to cut away when Joe freezes? That's going to be something to realize. How would the moderators, and why, by the way, would the moderators need a week of preparation for this? Now, Trump will be fact-checked and Biden won't be. Should Trump mention Biden is a degenerate? That's one question. Should he bring up the fact that he and his entire family are part of a criminal enterprise and deserve to be doing hard time in some type of racketeering enterprise indictment of sorts? These are the questions that I think I would want to know, and I will be certainly looking for something roughly similar to that. Why would the Biden CNN team think that Trump has no self-control? Have you heard this one? Because that's all his alleged supporters ever think about. Think Bill O'Reilly. They always talk about his self-control. How many of Biden's 16 advisors and preppers, a friend of mine asked, are actually blood donors? No matter what Trump does, he will lose. Remember that. He will lose based upon a system of losing that no one really can understand or define. The most strident critics, the most brutal, will be those on, quote, Trump's side. And the Trump supporters will ignore the fact that he's winning the election. And that's what really is about. Because you're going to have shills. You're going to have people who are pretending to be Trump supporters, when in fact they are not. You're going to be hearing things like, he wasn't Reagan-esque enough. He didn't appeal to women. He was too mean. He spoke too much. He didn't speak enough. Republicans will dissect and criticize to their detriment every point that Trump makes. Democrats won't. Republicans are under the guise and the illusion of integrity, and that will amplify every negative. The left during this will imply that Trump lost to this brain dead bag of bones. They're going to say he lost. No matter what happens, you're going to say this. The left again will complain that Trump bullied this brain dead bag of bones, and the left will applaud and blindly support every point Biden makes, from the incoherent to the insane. And these are just some random, reality TV shows are the most unrealistic. And they say these words. A friend of mine, by the way, sent me this great list of they will use incorrect words like foolproof. This is actually just a list of mispronunciations. Foolproof, not foolproof. Forward, not forward. Pundit, not pundit. Ask, not axe. In light of the trans movement, this trope hasn't, of course, aged very well. If men could get pregnant, abortion would be mandatory, blah, blah, blah. Which, remember that one? Is it the other day they said if men could get pregnant, abortion would be a sacrament. If men could get pregnant, well, that doesn't really apply anymore. And one can actually still be honorable and wrong. Now, again, I'm going to pretend that this matters. I'm going to pretend somehow that all of this is critical. I'm going to pretend that these tropes and memes and ideas and observations mean something. I'm going to pretend because that's what we do today. Because we in this business are slaves to what is anticipated and the like. Historically, it was so funny. I was watching a little bit of some reviews on YouTube, and they showed things like some classic moments in debating. And most of the people who were doing this actually at the time weren't old enough to actually do this or to have watched it. And there were some moments that were actually, I think, very, very unfair. One was the time when George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, was allegedly looking at his watch. They always show this as a particular moment. He was looking at his watch because he wanted to see how his time was. And he had that classic preppy, that multicolored, that real preppy cloth band with a something like from Nantucket or something. That was and he wasn't doing it because he was bored. He was doing it because he was trying to keep track of the time. There were the moments of Al Gore, who was suspirating. He was sighing. That, of course, is called suspiration, by the way. Did that matter? No, because Al Gore won. He got more votes. Remember the old joke? Re-elect Gore in 2004? Al Gore won. But the Supreme Court said no. And they made a deal with him. They said, listen, keep quiet. Don't push this. Don't ask for any kind of recount or anything. And we will make you the first carbon billionaire. He said, it's a deal. Because as people find out more and more, being president really isn't the most important thing. It's actually, you can have more fun doing something from the exterior, realms of this. You don't have to be a part of this at all. That's fine. The moment of Gerald Ford and Eastern Europe was I think it was Max Frankel from the New York Times, and they said, "What?" He says, and during the Ford administration, Soviet influence will not exist in Eastern Europe. And Jimmy Carter looked at him and he said, "Did I just hear this?" That was the biggest gaffe ever. That showed that was worse than falling down, which he really didn't do. By the way, Ford was one of the most athletic presidents ever. And by the way, one of the real serious athletes was actually George W. Bush was good. John Kennedy had a great golf swing. But Whizzer White, Byron Whizzer White, he was a pro football player. Actually, very, very good. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He's always, and you were told that he fell down a lot. And that was Chevy Chase, and he really didn't. That's how mainstream media are so critical in shaping how this thing goes. And by the way, one more thing this is important about Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was so involved in the cover-up of JFK, it's not even funny. Hey, Sager, take care of that one, babe. Why don't you delve into that one like you did the other day regarding that event that took place? You know what I mean? Gwig, what buzzwords or phrases will the candidates repeat throughout the debate? Well, it's hard to say. The question is, are you going to understand them? Trump, Trump, this is my honest to God advice. I would sit there and I would say, we're going to go over some things. I would say, Mr. President, we live in a world right now where nobody cares about the facts about inflation. Please stop talking about inflation rates. Please stop talking about inflation rates. Please. Please stop talking about these weird economic numbers, these numerations. If you really want to see, go to a mall, look at every time we see Mrs. L and I see Cheesecake Factory burgeoning, that's a great time. Go to a mall, count the shopping bags. There's all this. There's these weird factors that mean absolutely nothing. Nothing. Certain things are. I'll give you a terrible example. A friend of mine one time had prostate cancer. He was older. The doctor said, "You are so old that by the time this thing actually hits the symptom stage, you're going to be dead. So you've got cancer. The numbers are there, but you won't experience it." So that's not the way to go. I would say, writing, first of all, we have to know what it is that's going to drive Biden crazy and CNN. I would say, Mr. Trump, President Trump, we're going to make this look so unfair. And here's how we do this. We go in and we start attacking everybody. First and foremost, make sure the one who can't take it is this Dana. They call her Dana. In fact, call her Dana. Call her the wrong name. That'll drive them crazy. Refer to her as Dana or Dana or Donnie. Just whatever it is, throw something wrong. And say, for example, things like, "Are you going to cut me off now? You going to let me speak?" By the way, Jake, were you the ones who came up with these rules? I've never heard of it. Is this a debate or is this let's help out our friend? But I understand. And then move on. Always put them on trial. Keep talking a couple of times and go over the time limit so they cut your mic. And make it sound like they cut your mic at the event, not that it was something you agreed to. And one question. And then when they cut your mic, say, "You're cutting my mic," and they're going to be able to hear you in the exterior mics. They're going to be able to pick you up in this. I said, "You're cutting me off? You're cutting, but are you cut in the background?" And they can hear you. Now, people will not know that this was a condition of this because people don't read. They don't care. Charlie Kelly says, Daily Mail, Hooters closes 40 bars. Oh my God. That was, I can't believe, Hooters started in Clearwater, Florida on Beta Bay. It was not Beta Bay. I know exactly where the first Hooters was. And it's Charlie, what's his name? Bob Passwater started that one. And by the way, it was very, very family oriented. It wasn't sleazy. That really is something. Look at the number, Charlie, of places in California that are the McDonald's that are closing. When a McDonald's closes, it's like a Chinese restaurant. They never close. Never. Never. Once they open, they open. Okay. But thank you for that. Now, the other issue is going to be is that they're going to say things. Remember, you want to make them mad and you want Biden to get upset. And you want to say things like, as many times, that's not true. Don't ever say that's a lie. Say that's not true. That's inaccurate. That's not what happened. Don't say a lie. The reason why is a lie is a misrepresentation of fact with the intent to deceive. So you can misrepresent things, but that's not going to help. Never say it's a lie. Always say that you're wrong about that. No matter what it is, you're wrong. It stops what he's doing, and now he's got to explain, no, it is right. You never let him finish. That's not right. Or you say something that misrepresents something, sort of, something that is going to be problematic. For example, and I know, Joe, why you followed orders. Because and let me tell you one thing. Listen to what I'm saying. If you're ever on one of these Piers Morgan shows, which I never will be, but if I do, I'm telling you exactly what I'm doing. Number one, I'm going to find the person who was the most upsetting, who's easily upset, and that's the one, preferably on the other side, and that's the one I'm going after. Somebody who's real sensitive, somebody who doesn't know how to debate. And I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb, and I'm going to set the tone like you can't believe. And I'm going to lean into the mic and I say, yeah, to my friend, listen, kid, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know who gives you your facts, but you weren't even close. Nice try, Sonny. Boom. Now, the guy's going to go berserk. I sit back. His age, or I just did something, and I throw him off. He's going to go crazy. He's going to go crazy. And as he's doing this, as he kind of settles down and say, have you ever done this before, kid? Is this your first time? Is this your first rodeo? I don't think this is for you. See, you're not supposed to get upset. Now, what I've done is when I do this, I take control away from Piers, and I already pissed this guy off. So I'm sitting there, and they're going to wait for me. I own it already. I'm the most interesting, and the directors are loving it. Numbers are going up. People say, who is this guy? I haven't even talked about the subject yet. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. You always want to make it always. Remember why you're there. This is the most important thing. Why are you on a show? You're there for you. Never talk about the subject. Talk about what you want to talk about. Say things like, oh, I don't know, things like, that reminds me. That reminds me. What do you mean that reminds me? Yeah, that reminds me. It's funny you say that. Wait a minute, what? I was on CNN one time, years ago. And it was right there on, I guess it was on 8th Avenue. It was wild. And I swear to you when I tell you this, I was on with, hang on. They're already coming in. All of the requests. They want me. Okay. So I was on one time. True story. There must have been, I don't know, 10 people. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was ridiculous. Seriously. It was absolutely one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. Okay. And what happened was, which I thought was great, what happened was I realized I'm never going to get on. I'm never going to get on. Never. By the time they do this thing fairly, I'm not going to do it. So what I did was, I happened to have a newspaper. I was reading a newspaper at the time when we read newspapers. This is how long ago it was. And during the course of this, as all of us were in these boxes, I sat back and I read the newspaper. And I was absolutely going nuts with this. And they were going crazy. So I'm reading this newspaper and they say, excuse me, Lionel, yeah. I put it down to yeah. I said, no, go ahead. Sorry. I just got to be. Just let me know when you're time for me. No, go ahead. Keep talking. This is fascinating. And I went up and I kept reading. Now everybody's watching me. It derailed everything. And I said, but I got to tell you something. I said, I don't know about you. I said, I don't want to tell you what to do, obviously. And I'll probably never be asked on again. But do you really need 10 people on here? Can't you cover this? Can't you handle this by yourself? See, because when people have guests and guest hosts, it's a crutch. Patrick Ben David, his guests, he can't carry this. You never want to give up mic time. And your guest host, or whatever it is, better be real good and know how to back off and not want your job. The people that they have always want a job. Think of the good shows. Think of the really, there's a couple of good ones who are very, very good. When Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate do this, they're very good. But it's Max's show. And Mate knows he holds back, which is good. I mean, he's good. They're both great. But it's Max's show. And I've seen this before. So what you're talking about is this thing called stagecraft. I hate to say it, but you got to go in there saying, how am I going to psych this person out? What am I going to say to win this? How are people going to be talking about me tomorrow? Not, did I answer the question? What can I do? What can I do in today's world, on today's social media, where everybody will have my answer cut out, rephrased, framed, whatever it was, in a way that will be see on every TikTok. It'll be retweeted. It'll be the biggest thing tomorrow. That's what I want. I don't want to answer the question. It's very simple. And Trump has that thing naturally. Answers such like, you're kidding me, right? Tapper, have you been reading the newspaper? Who writes this stuff for you? All this preparation and that's what you came in? Or Joe, you took a week off to prepare and you didn't know that was coming? Come on, Joe. You didn't know that question was coming? We all know what questions are coming. Why? All you got to do is look around. And whenever you see something falling apart or on fire, that's going to be the question. Joe, I got one question for you. Yeah. Would you ask Joe, did he do this deliberately or did somebody have the goods on him because of his son? Did they say, listen, you're going to go out and you're going to destroy America? And the reason why is simply this. We've got your son's laptop and we can bury him and everybody else. And we're going to do that. You got what I'm saying? We're going to bury him and everybody else. You got what I'm saying? You got what I'm saying? We're going to bury him and everyone else. You've just owned it. You've just owned it. They're going to be talking about you the whole time. And Biden's going to say, what the hell am I prepared for? I don't know. You own it. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to do? What is it that I was in a show one time and I could see whenever you're on, make sure you got your IFB. Make sure you have a mirror. Make sure you know what you look like and make sure you see what you look like in that monitor. Show me the monitor and what I'm going to look like on TV. because these people who were there will shoot. Everybody's got a bad side. Everybody's got a they will shoot up your nose, and that's why so many people do these Zooms where they're talking, they're looking down at somebody, and people are looking up their nose. It's like, what are you kidding me? Or they're in a bedroom with the bed. Anyway, so as we were talking, this idiot was. I didn't want to interrupt. I kept doing. The camera's here. And guys talking, and I turned, and there was nobody there. But I was like this. I'm talking to somebody. And I could hear in the IFB, the director said, who's he talking to? There's nobody. But all of a sudden, now he and I are on the screen. Because somebody said, get this reaction. Why? Because we want people to watch. We want people to watch. It's incredible. Somebody wrote Adubato. You talking about Steve? Steve Adubato is a New Jersey stalwart, famous. He does a show on PBS. By the way, I may have to cut out of here. This is Thursday. I always have this standing thing over there. So don't be surprised if I'm out of here. But anyway, Steve Adubato does a very good show. And I've been on his show before. And he does this thing where he will act like the question is extremely profound. Like we'll say, James Gandolfini, famous, gangster-like. He's got a good style to him. He really does. There are these wonderful styles that people have. You got to know what to watch for with him. I was listening before to one of the greatest shows ever is Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman is so good because he is so bland. He is so dry. But the show is so good. The subject is so he blows my mind. Raul says, can a moderator in a debate support one side? Yes, but they're not supposed to. But of course they can and they will. Absolutely. First of all, you're on CNN, corrupt news network. I mean, there's no other way around it. Are you kidding me? Yes, absolutely. Of course they can. But remember, and he's got to have these things worked out. You know what they're going to talk about. And if they say something about him, what if they say, what about you? And he hasn't done anything since he was in office last time. Now, what I would not do is don't bring up your court cases. Don't. Because you've got to ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? Nobody cares about this. And it sounds like no matter what you think it is, that's not your best point. When you want to slough over something, say, you look, everybody knows what that's about. Now let's move on. I love that. You just told me, yeah, you're right. And people will, it's just like I always tell people, and you can understand that, right? Whenever I still do it. I do it all the time. I do it all the time. You're not going to charge me for this, right? Because it was your fault, and you can understand that, right? Does that make sense? Oh, yeah, okay. Why did I say that? I don't know. I just said that. Because he said, you can understand that, right? And I said yes, because people do. During cross-examination, sometimes I would see the police officer, and I didn't realize, I swear to God, I didn't realize I was doing this. But I would say, and his eyes were bloodshot, right? Yes. And when you saw him, did he do anything that? No. People will just mimic what you're saying. It's the weirdest things. And how would you describe his driving? Well, it was like, okay, just curious. It's not about, you got to ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? What am I trying to accomplish? I don't care what you're doing. Job interview. What are you trying to accomplish? Go into and forget the particular. That's not it. It's a feeling. And I keep telling you, it's like a movie. You want to walk by and you want to say, damn, because we live in a world right now where we have the internet and people want to see you, drop the mic and the cigarette and the glasses and all that stuff. And that's what people want. And when you start insulting the people, see, that's why I got into talk radio. Very quickly, I had 3 rules. I'm going to tell you this. This is a true story. I used to love to call radio shows. I did this for fun, where they never took anything controversial. Plant shows. We had a guy who did TV repair. This is how old it was. I had 3 rules. Number 1, be the first caller. Set the tone. Set the tone. You're the first caller. Number 2, never talk about the subject. Whatever he's talking about, never talk about it. And number 3, when at all possible, insult the host and his family. And just get the guy mad. So you're the first one. He's got like an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, whatever it is. And already he's PO'd and he hasn't said a word yet. And you're just sitting back and you're listening to him. There was a guy one time, this poor guy, he did a TV repair. I thought, he's a nice old man. That's the one I wanted to hit. So he starts off, oh, you're calling the electronics doctor. He was this Boston guy. And I said, let me explain something to you. I hate you. I hate you and your stupid show. It was like venom. And he lost it. And I thought, I hit pay dirt. His whole show was, did you hear what that guy said about me? And you're not a doctor. I never said I was a doctor. Your name's called the TV doctor. It's an expression. Well, I got an expression for you. I hate your show. And it was the greatest thing ever. And I guarantee you, people said, I got to advertise with that guy. Because more people, I'll bet you, they didn't have overnights, but more people listened because it was just so unique. Why? Give them something unique. Give them some. What are you trying to do? Nobody remembers your answer about crime or the border. How many times now there may be a rule about props, but he can pull out a picture. He says, Joe, you know who this is? Call him Joe. Joe, you know who this is? And pick any of the poor, tragic young women who have been slaughtered by these animals. This, here. Yeah, no prop. This isn't a prop. This is a picture. You call her a prop? No prop. You call her a prop? This is a human being. And hope they use the word prop. You don't want to see this, do you? I don't blame you. But her family, this is all they have left because of you. This is all they have left. This girl will never get married, will never walk her own daughter down the aisle, will never even see her next birthday because of you and this policy. So my question to you, Joe, is this. Who made you do it? Who owns you? Who tells you what to do? Don't tell me you came up with that. You didn't come up with it. Somebody made you do that. Is it because of Hunter? Is it because the Chinese got the laptop? Is that it? And they've got pictures that we can't even imagine? Tell me, Joe, because I know you're not that crazy to actually go. And the Joe Biden 30 years ago would have never put up with this. What happened to you? That's it. You've just owned it. It's derailed. And if Jake Tapper goes, Jake, do me a favor. Shut up, Jake. We got an election coming up and you want to interrupt. Look, I know you're trying to shill for Biden. We all know that. That's why we're on this fakakta, stupid network. So answer my question, Joe. I promise you, they're going to say he's ill-tempered. People will run and say, I'm voting for this guy. I love it. Because we live in a WWF or WWE, whatever it is. We live in a world of professional wrestling, of heels and just moments. Do you know how many TikTok moments there are? That's where it is. That's where it is. It's this thing where they're going to say, you want them to say at the end, we've been had. He did it. He didn't answer one question. Nobody wants to hear the questions. They want a performance. Give them the performance. Don't do anything other than giving them the performance. So anyway, dear friends, listen, I love you. I want to get out here before they buzz me. Raul, God love you. Charlie, Calais, Sorry, but boy, you told me about the Hooters. I'm going to call Bob Passwater to find out what the hell's going on with that. Gwig, thank you. And thank you as well. So we'll see you tonight. Okay? You dig? This is going to be interesting. And President Trump, you know how to reach me. Anybody who knows, I'm telling you, listen to what I'm saying. They will never forget this. This will be one for the ages. They're going to say, we've never seen anything like this. He owned us. He owned us. We've been had. Yep. Yep. We've been had. That's precisely right. Because if you want to play, there's an expression we used to say years ago. Don't with the falcon unless you can fly. So grow some wings, Joey. DT's in town. Okay? The big man. The big guy. The original guy. Got that, Tapper? And Dana? Huh? Wake up, Dana. It's almost over. Oh. Meet Rodney Dangerfield meets, I don't know what. All right, dear friends. Have a great and a glorious day. It is an honor to be with you. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And make sure to spread the word. Johannesburg is a great Gil Scott Heron would say. In any event, please, please have a great day. Please follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Great, great YouTube channel. And X or Twitter. And until then, my friends, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.